Former executive turned lifestyle entrepreneur, Connie is ridiculously dedicated to inspiring individuals to activate their power and live their dream as a lifestyle entrepreneur. It's time to sit down, lie down, or squat down and turn up the volume. Up or Out with Connie starts right now.
Well, hello, it's Connie Fife, your unstoppable diva, and each week we bring to you confident conversations with today's leaders in business. And today we have a phenomenal guest. I just love her. She's a millennial, and I just love working with millennials because they are just, they're so in tune with what's going on in today's business world. And, they look at things and they come at things from a different point of view. And that's what it's all about. That's what this world is all about. And she's a leader. She has 12 plus years experience focusing on scaling, mentoring, and enabling successful teams. She started her career out at Salesforce, where she spent 8 years with a variety of roles, including consulting, IT program management, and enablement for sales and solutions engineering communities. So then after Salesforce, she was responsible for leading the sales and the SDR onboarding and assisting with marketing program at Zenefits. And now at FinancialForce, she's responsible for leading field enablement for the go-to market teams and assisting with customer programs and events. Her drive is to serve her customers, and really that's what keeps her motivated constantly, because she brings a very unique combination of project management, sales, and customer success expertise in scaling global programs. So I want to introduce right now to Up or Out with Connie. Please welcome you.
Hi, everyone. How are you? Hi, Connie.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing well.
I know you're based in the Bay Area, and you're a native of the Bay Area that you call the best coast.
Yes, and I know that we've talked about this because I know that you're from the East Coast, and
right.
So no disrespect there. It's just I was born and raised in San Jose, and I currently live in San Francisco, and so for me, this has truly been the best place.
Well, I do have to say there's no place like home.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's definitely no place like home. And you also have a weekly blog of yourself, Cheers from Q.
Yes.
You're sharing insights on community, vulnerability, self-awareness. So how's that going?
It's going really well. This was actually a passion project of mine that I just started earlier this year. It was a little bit kind of tied to, I have a lot of friends and mentees as well as mentors, and I talked about specific topics such as community or how important it is to be a lot more self-aware and also being vulnerable. And as I've been talking through with my friends as well as mentees, I recognize what about sharing it to the rest of the world, as well as I was actually pushing myself a little bit, as well as I don't love writing. And I thought this would be a good way for me to not only really better myself in terms of my writing skills, but to get a lot of the things that I've kind of given advice about onto the web.
Oh, cool. I like that you don't like writing, because I'll be honest with you, I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't, but doing blogs and posts and newsletters, I mean, they certainly help with our skill. I mean, I've had the grammar police comment to me, and I'm like, it's about the content. It's about the message. It's not about that I had a comma in the right place.
Yes.
But I know that is important to a lot of people, though. So it is a good exercise. So I do agree with you there. So you talk a lot about also, again, around the confidence building and the vulnerability. But it's that woman in tech that really intrigued me. The management teams and the importance of women in technology. I speak pretty often to STEM programs with some of the younger students, young ladies. So what is it about women in tech that intrigues you?
I think for me, it's a little bit twofold. My parents actually immigrated to the States from Vietnam. And so at a very young age, I learned the importance of hard work and that you need to believe in yourself in order to get through any challenges and really get to your goals. For me, living in the Bay Area, surrounded by tech, I was immersed into technology at a very young age from my father, as well as through education. Okay. And I think for me too, what I also recognized is also being an Asian female leader. It's something that I don't see many other female leaders that I can identify with. Okay. I think what's been really interesting, I'm not sure if you've been reading up to this as well, but, with the new movie Crazy Rich Asians, it's been really interesting to see a lot of Asian leads in the movies. And I even recognize that for me, growing up, I only had, movie stars who were of like Lucy Liu or the Yellow Power Ranger. And I felt as if it was the same with women in tech as well as Asian women in tech. And so for me, it's been something where I wanted to kind of show, for example, I have two little sisters, they're 9 and 10 years younger, that they can be whoever it is that they want to be. Okay. And that it doesn't matter your race, your skin color, your ethnicity. You could do whatever it is that you put your mind to. Now, granted, what's interesting is I think a lot of us feel as if, especially in this day and age with social media, you see this glorified, perfect image. And you think as if it might be so easy for people to get to. But what's not shown on Instagram is the hard work and the many hours. Right. Not sleeping, or, for me, when I was getting my MBA and also working at Salesforce, I don't mention this often, but I was essentially commuting 3 hours a day. I was sleeping roughly an average of 4 hours a night, which is not good for you. Yeah. But I was still getting my business degree and working, but it really I was passionate about it. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to show myself as well as my friends and family that I could do it and I wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why just being a women leader in tech is just so important to me, because I haven't been able to identify with many others who have been able to do it until now. I think that this has become this amazing movement where more women are still in technology. They're either becoming entrepreneurs, or as a girlfriend and I talk about, where within our corporations, we're becoming intrapreneurs, meaning that we are entrepreneurs within the bigger corporation because we really see the value in having kind of the company that we work at really supporting and providing us those opportunities.
You bring up a couple of good points there, but the one about the entrepreneur, a lot of companies are looking at that now, and they want people to come in, and because they want them to look at it and consider that this is your business, and we want you to treat it that way. We want you to come in with that entrepreneur mindset, meaning that entrepreneur, and really looking at how you can develop and grow this business, because when you grow, we all grow together. Mm-hmm. And then the other point that you made about, especially with Asians in technology, because I was looking at that myself as well, because I will be speaking at a STEM program coming up. And last time I spoke at this program, I would say 80% of the young ladies in there were Asian women. I wanted this not to be stereotyped with one specific gender or one specific race, but how can we as women just embrace, because technology is so important. And I was talking to my daughter about engineering over the weekend, and she's a teacher, and she works with kids with special needs. And she was saying that they want to change their titles to something around, with the word engineering in it. And I said, no matter what you do anymore, I said, you're an engineer. You have domestic engineers, you have, all sorts of engineers, technology engineers. So the sciences, the technology, engineering, the arts, even the math, it is all so important no matter what area of work that you go into going forward, because everything we do is based around technology.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And we just have to have those skills. And that leads me to the other thing that you talk about is the 3 pillars of success within the organization and self-awareness. And that, again, being part of the intrapreneur and how you bring that into the organization. And again, a part of that self-awareness and your pillars of success. So I love to hear your definition of that.
Yeah. So in my mind, I think of the 3 pillars of success, which is, who are the people that you really surround yourself with? It's essentially, I call it my tribe, whether it be internal or external, a group of individuals, my mentors, those who will really help me, give me advice to be successful. The second piece is, what is the process? Have I aligned my own processes? Are there current processes in an organization, or is there a need for new processes to be made in order to be successful? And I think the last piece is, what are the tools? What are the tools that you have to be successful? Are you also communicating well enough? Are you writing out whatever it is that you need? Do you have the specific tool sets that will help you kind of speed in terms of the technology that you're using? Okay. And so when I think of those 3 kind of pillars, I then start bucketing what it is that I need, what it is that my tribe can provide, what it is that others are also asking me of, and then kind of searching within myself and then asking others, are you being self-aware on what's working, what's not working, and then how do we work together to fixing it? Because I think that's something that a lot of individuals don't do as often, is just taking a pause and recognizing that just because I've done something a certain way for such a long time and have been successful does not mean that there isn't another way that you can then really improve upon yourself to then grow or scale something else.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting, because I just took a pause this past summer. I've been doing this for almost 12 years. And, again, as an entrepreneur, you have your ups, you have your downs. But this past spring really forced me to really take a pause, take a look at the business. So that's what I did over, the last couple of months, to take a look at I guess the self-awareness, like you're talking about, and again, as one of the pillars, and, and for the business, and who are we, what do we do, how are we helping others? And that is such an important journey for everyone to be able to do that. So you know that, well, one, that you don't get burned out, but secondly, you want to make sure that you are doing the best you can and fulfilling your need and whatever it is that your dream is for your success.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I love it. And you also talk about that too, that, the purpose and, and how you really need to take a look at that. And, and because there are very few Asian leaders. So I want to ask you this question, because there are so few Asian leaders. So there are so few women in technology. Who is it that you would say that you really look up to, that has motivated you to continue in your journey?
Mm-hmm. I would say there's 2 different leaders. Is, first and foremost, I'm going to do a little bit of a personal kind of role model, and then I'm going to do one woman in tech. I think you'd hear this often, is your family members are the ones who are your role models, and my mother and father are truly my role models. I think I mentioned this earlier, with them immigrating to the States on their own, little to no money, did not know the language, and they were quite young and figured it out. They were able to really prove to me that you can, as long as you set your mind to it, and with a lot of hard work and a lot of faith, you can do anything. And this was something that's always been instilled in myself, where if my parents can immigrate on a boat, not knowing the language. And I have been so blessed with an amazing family who is very supportive, a great education at Santa Clara, both in my undergrad and in my MBA program. And then I was lucky enough to kind of take a leap of faith by joining a company, little old company called Salesforce at the time, which everyone thought I was crazy for choosing Salesforce over Accenture. I had an offer at Accenture that was the place to be back then. It was also in the middle of a recession. So people thought, Quyen or Q, why are you choosing I'm going to call it the one place that everybody wanted to go to a company that you have no idea how that's going to unfold. Now, granted, years later, Salesforce is an amazing organization full of leaders who have really, I call it, supported women leadership Also empowered women leaders, which is another reason why I'm very blessed to have worked there for so long, is I think they showed me that that is a company that can not only be proven that when you have women in leadership, you can do very well, but it's also, there's other leaders backing those women.
Nice.
And so that's kind of one example is my family. And the second example is Sheryl Sandberg. So I had the esteemed honor of meeting her at the Dreamforce, which is a conference that Salesforce provides in San Francisco. And that year, she was one of the keynote speakers with Mark, the CEO of Salesforce. I, with a team of others, built kind of the Lean In program within Salesforce. And at that time, that's when Sheryl had her book, Lean In. Now, fast forward a couple years later, she had her second book, Option B, where her husband, Dave, had passed away.
Right.
What's really interesting is she had shown, number one, she was being very, very strong in the sense of it's time for all of us women to really lean in and think about and become more aware. And then when her husband passed away, it was, hey, I'm going to be vulnerable and share how terrible this experience was. And that at the end of the day, it was so challenging, but she's been able to prove to others that with the help of your tribe, and with the internal belief that things will be okay after a little bit of time, that was very empowering. 3 years ago, my husband had experienced a traumatic brain injury. I had just started a brand new job. I had left Salesforce, my family, essentially, my work family, to go and start a new job at another company where I didn't know many people. And then 2 weeks into the job, my husband was in the hospital in the ICU for about 6 days. Now, Connie, I've never had been or stepped foot into a hospital before. And so you can imagine that I was screaming through the halls, asking people where the ER was. And for about a year and a half, we had to work together on his recovery. And I got to tell you, we were also just recently married, new job, recently married.
Right.
Huge traumatic incident. And at a pretty young age, I was answering questions to the doctors when these types of questions are not being asked at the age of, roughly 30. Those questions are being asked when you're 80 and at the hospital. And so, after reading her book, it just gave me more power to just believe that everything needs to happen the way that it does, that I need to set my intentions, surround myself with great people, and that sometimes when things are really, really rough and tough, it's okay to cry. It's okay to ask for help. And I think that was something that took me a very long time to recognize that it's okay to ask questions and ask help.
Yeah, we come to realize that when things happen in our life and the best laid plans, as they say, something goes awry, it really just gives us pause to say, okay, there's something more. There's something more, and again, to be such a young bride, and you said making different questions like that. At that point, you're thinking, go talk to my mom and dad. I don't want to.
Exactly.
I don't answer these questions, but I mean, and I'm certain, and I'm sure it's made you an even stronger woman for who you are today. Living those type of experiences. So I do have a couple of questions that I'd like you to finish these sentences for me. So I am unstoppable because
I surround myself with the best tribe.
My favorite success quote is,
mediocrity is not an option.
My process for evaluating opportunities is
figuring out the balance between fulfillment and the balance between, I call it work-life integration.
Like that one. So never have I ever.
Ooh, that is a hard one. Never have I ever given up on myself.
Nice. So what's the moment, and we probably already know this answer, what the moment in your life, the event in your life that's had the greatest impact on you?
I would say truly my husband's accident 3 years ago, and the pure fact that it was very challenging. Do not get me wrong. Now, I am happy to say that he is happy, healthy, running, walking. You would never have known that he was ever in an accident. But through that experience, I also recognized the importance of having not only your work family be there for you and your family be there for you and your friends be there for you, but that it's okay for you to just let your guard down. I think for a very long time, I was always pushing myself to be the one who understood everything, who had everything already planned out, and I was good to go. I didn't need any help. I could figure it out on my own. And that, through that experience, I was able to ask for help and to recognize that other people can help me be a better version of myself.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Be a better version of myself. Love that. So what do you believe? I mean, even hearing that, what do you believe is one of the greatest wounds we have in the world today?
I think the greatest wounds that we have today is just the pure fact of the moment we meet someone, it's that instant judgment. If you hear that, for example, and I think I had mentioned this to you earlier, is in the world of social media, many of us are so quick to judge.
Yes.
Whether it be you see someone just recently bought a house, and if it's a beautiful house, you're going to judge them for spending too much money on that house, or are they spending outside of their means? Or if someone else is on a very nice vacation and you judge them for sharing it on social media that they're in this beautiful location, when at the end of the day, we have no idea how people are struggling. We have no idea how hard they've worked. And I think that if we lived a life where we were a little bit more open to not judging each other immediately, or not even having any judgment, we would be such a better world. And I'll be honest, there are many times where I catch myself judging and I recognize, okay, no, Quyen, stop. Don't do that. That's not okay. And so I think that's definitely something that's really wounding us as not only a community, but just as a human, race.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, I just feel like there's just so much of that, so much of that judging. The actor that was on the Cosby Show, it's all over social media right now. I mean, people are judging him and shaming him because he took a job working at, in a Trader Joe's because, and I watched part of his interview and he goes, I have to feed my family. He goes, being an actor isn't all that glamorous, that you think it is. And that's true with everything that you do. So I love that. We just have to stop being so judgmental towards other people. Yeah. So will you ever be satisfied?
I have spent a lot of time. Actually, I just recently came back from a vacation in Maui, which is by far, just for me, one of the best places in the world where all of the stress in your life just disappears for a couple days. Yes. And throughout the vacation, I thought to myself, I have this plan for myself. One day I want to start my own company. I want to be really successful. I want to have kids and I want to do this and I want. And what's really interesting is I took a pause while we're kind of writing down in my journal, and I recognized it's okay to be happy with where I am today because I am so blessed to have what I have. And I think that's been something that's been a new habit of mine. I'm starting to write down every day 3 things that make me feel very grateful at the end of each day. And I think after doing that exercise, I recognized it's okay to love your life right now and that you need to accept that. Because if you don't accept that, then you'll always be wanting more. And don't get me wrong, Connie, I think there are many times where I think to myself, am I going to get that promotion? Am I working hard enough to build that team that will be successful? And I just have to remind myself. And that's why I think it's so important that everyone has that self-awareness and also schedules the time to do that. Because I think in life we get very busy and we tend to forget these really easy exercises that we do in order to then have that self-awareness. One exercise that I also do, and I have my team do in some of our team meetings, is an exercise called Start, Stop, and Continue. What is it that you would like to start doing? What is that you would like to stop doing? And what is that you'd like to continue doing? And when you have yourself be accountable for those questions, and when you also share your answers to those questions, you're a lot more aware, and you're sharing to whoever it is, whether it be your team, your spouse, your mentors, your mentees, that really helps you recognize, okay, what's really important, and can I be satisfied with where I am today? And what do I need to do in order to just make small tweaks to then become a little bit more satisfied?
They're all great exercises. I love the exercises that you're doing. I mean, I think that's going to be the biggest takeaway out of this interview today is those exercises, like you said, creating a habit out of it. I know for my coaching programs, even my husband and I will do what's your high, what's your low. And then you still want to write it down. You still want to journal, what was it for you for that day? Because when you take a look at that and, building that habit and creating that also starts implementing a self-accountability to yourself as well. So very valuable exercises. So what's next? Where do you go from here?
Yeah, I have also been thinking about that as well. So I think, earlier you had introduced myself. What's also really interesting is I've recognized the importance of branding. So for example, my name is Quyen, but I have everyone call me Q just because not only is it easier, but it's similar to the James Bond reference where Q was the individual who had kind of enabled James Bond. And I like to say that my team and we enable companies. What's interesting and what's next for me is I would hope to turn this blog into potentially a podcast where I share a lot of these advice to others, or I interview others on, what are their habits of success. Another piece to this too is, my hope is to continue helping other women and men be very successful in their roles. I'm currently a co-director of a women's organization called W North, and kind of what I'm doing next is I'm helping host other events where we kind of share our thoughts and kind of communicate to each other on what is working, what's not working, and trying to be each other's support system. And so that's kind of what I see next.
That's great. I mean, women do need that type of program support system. As you know, ours, it will be Activate the Power of Women, and we've rebranded and did some changes, but it's critical. It's vital for women to be a support system for each other. But I think also with women, we need to step our game up in supporting each other and not being so judgmental towards each other, as we talked about before. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that women do have with each other. And if you look at all of the research and you start going back, I'm a bit older than you, but when I take a look at that, still, getting into that leadership position, it very much becomes a challenge to women because there's very few of those positions available. But now that they're opening up more, we need to be able to help each other and support each other and lift each other up so they can go after those positions that they're wanting, especially in the leadership roles or stepping out and starting their own business, whatever they desire to do. So I love the work that you're doing. I think it's phenomenal with your women's program. It's absolutely, absolutely wonderful. So let our listeners know how they can learn more about you and about your programs.
Yeah. So currently, feel free to, I think the best way is to follow on Instagram. It is at Cheers from Q. And that's where you'll get kind of the weekly updates on our blog posts, as well as just kind of tips and tricks and some of these success habits that I've learned throughout my career.
Well, Quyen, I want to thank you for being here. I always love speaking with you and chatting with you, and anything that I could do to help your women's program move forward, I just reach out to me. I'm here for you.
Great. Thank you. And I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Well, thank you all for being here. Thanks to Quyen for being here on our show as well. So this is your opportunity. Listen to the show again. There is a lot of tips, a lot of tools in here to help you with your self-awareness, with your performance. and to be the best that you can be. So whether you're moving up or out, these tips are going to help you get there. Up or Out is a brand of the Five Group, and we are ridiculously dedicated to inspiring individuals to activate their power. And I want you to live your dream. I'm Connie Fife, your unstoppable diva. Until next time, activate your power, and let's be unstoppable together.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for listening to Up or Out with Connie. If you like what you hear and would like to be a guest, email the team at bookme@uporout.com. Learn how you can activate your power at activatemypower.com. We'll see you over there. Activate your power and be unstoppable together.